Hi everyone, I'm Gordon Burkell from Filmmaker U. At Filmmaker U, we create courses for film professionals to deepen and diversify their existing skill set. Every week we go live Friday at 2 p.m. with a film professional to chat and give you a chance to join us and ask questions. Today I'm joined by Kevin Tent, editor of Nebraska, about Schmidt, Election, and many, many other great films. Hi Kevin, welcome to Filmmaker U.
Hi, Gordon. How are you?
Pretty good, thanks. Pretty good, thanks. I have to ask you, so the person who taught me how to edit learned through Roger Corman's company, and I heard
Uh-huh.
you worked at Roger Corman's company. Can you tell me everything about that? Because I always love the stories from Roger Corman's
You know, it
company.
was a it was a great place to work, and it actually was a great place for film editors because you had to be super creative, and the footage was not always good, and also you had the threat of Roger coming in, and if he ever got bored, he would just like say, "Well, cut that scene out," and you'd be like, "Well, no, but that scene means this, and that will that'll happen." So I found it really informative because I would always try to. A lot of the editors, I think, were always trying to stay ahead of Roger, so you would never let things get super boring. So you would make the cuts internally within a scene to try to save it before he got to it, and that kind of thing. And it was a lot of fun. It wasn't for everybody. There were a lot of people that were just like, "No, this is ridiculous." But I embraced it, and I found it to be really fun, and I learned a lot. And
Yeah,
you would do so many movies. I don't even know how many I did down there at that time, but a lot of them. And
yeah,
yeah, and there was a lot of creative freedom. There was like no one really cared what you were doing. You were just, well, no, I shouldn't say that. I mean, he cared and people cared, but you could be creative
yeah.
and
Well,
take
and
chances.
that's what I was saying to Jason before you got on. I was saying, like, the guy who taught me how to edit. One of the stories he had was that Roger got old World War One planes off another film set that was
Oh yeah,
done, and then just bought stock footage and was like, okay, let's make a film. Here you go.
we made an entire movie like that.
Yeah.
Actually, Joe Dante did it originally with Hollywood Boulevard, which is a really hilarious movie. And then we made Hollywood Boulevard 2. Steve Burnett was the director. And we took all these car chases and everything, and all we shot was our actors going like this and cut them in, and it works great. We have cars that flip and explode, and we have helicopters that explode and stuff like that, and we never paid for any of it. We
Yeah.
shot in 10 days and just used our actors in there. It was pretty funny. I keep thinking, why aren't the other studios doing this?
Yeah.
They could be recycling so much footage.
Yeah.
Recycling, it's good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, and I'm surprised, like, okay, we're done with it now. How can we reuse this for money and just,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like, yeah, I'm surprised they don't do that now.
yeah, yeah. They could do. If they were really creative, they could.
Yeah. How did you, transition from Roger Corman to editing on studio projects?
Well, it was a long transition. I often tell people, it's not something that happened right overnight, but I was doing a lot of Roger movies and, recutting them and then cutting them. And then I ran into one of my friends from film school, Tamara Davis, at the supermarket. We lived in sort of the same neighborhood in Silver Lake. And she had been doing a lot of music videos, and we'd been in touch a little bit. And then she said, "Oh, I'm getting my first feature off the ground. You want to cut it?" I was like, "Yeah." And that movie was gun crazy. And the good thing about that movie at the time, it was kind of the beginning of the sort of the indie films, and it was a really good low budget film noir movie. It's really good. And so that I did that, and then I was still doing Roger just to make a living. I was always cutting for
Mhm.
Roger, but then I was starting to do some different films on the side. And hers was the first. And then fortunately, not long after, Alexander Payne was getting his first film off the ground. And, again, a low budget indie arty film. And, and anyways, I interviewed for that. And I think he had seen Gun Crazy or he knew about it or something, but that helped me get that meet with him. So, anyways, I guess I basically, to answer your question, I was doing Roger movies, and then whenever I could, I would do kind of a more arty film or low budget independent film at the same time. And then finally, I sort of segued out of working for Roger and was able to sort of make a living doing smaller films.
How did you? So, because one of the things I've noticed with Alexander's work is that it's much more. A lot of the films are introspective and slower paced.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about Roger, you're like, get rid of that scene, get rid of that scene.
Yeah.
So, how did you get into that rhythm with Alexander?
Interesting. Well, films, every film is it's a unique thing, and it's its own thing. So you kind of adapt to the rhythms that are kind of already baked in, and you kind of reinforce them and that kind of thing. So Alexander directed in a certain way that, you couldn't force it to be much faster. And you're right, some of them are contemplative and slow and that kind of stuff. But like you look at Election, that was pretty zippy all the way around. But his first film, Citizen Ruth, was a little bit. And then certainly About Schmidt is a slower paced movie. But I think when you become an editor, you're able to adapt and, cut whatever is presented in front of you and you have to do what serves the film best. So if it's a slower paced film, you have to edit with that kind of in mind as you're cutting away. So.
Well, what's funny about Election is I feel like people, it still hasn't really clicked, but people are slowly starting to realize it's a masterpiece. Because it is one of those films that you talk to people, and if they haven't seen Election, they go watch it and then they're like, oh man, that's a really well structured and put together film from beginning to end, like from script to the end. Was there anything like what was left on the cutting room floor in that film? Because it feels like it was thoroughly thought out.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, how much time do you have? I think the biggest thing, which I think a lot of people know about it, but the people that have seen it, who really are big fans of the movie, the ending is new. We tested that movie, I think 7 times. Wow. And it was really hard because it wasn't testing very well. It didn't test well. It just didn't. And Sherry Lansing was running Paramount at the time, and she kept saying, why don't you reshoot the ending? Why don't you reshoot the ending? And we were like, no, we're going to make this work. We can keep it. But let me explain what the ending was. It was a little bit more bittersweet than certainly at the ending that is there now. It's and I've always kind of thought this about Alexander. I think what he wanted to do with the ending of Election, he did in About Schmidt, which has this very bittersweet moment at the end. And that's what was there on Election originally. And the audience was laughing, having a good time. And then all of a sudden, when it became a bittersweet moment at the very end, they felt a little bit like, what? That doesn't seem fair. We wanted to laugh. And so finally, after one of our last previews, I remember Jim Taylor coming to the cutting room, and we were all sitting there kind of bummed out because it didn't do better. And we really tried to make it work. And Jim, it was kind of a hero moment where you said, can I swear on this?
Yeah, you can swear.
Okay, he just said.
I thought you were saying that's what he said.
No, he said, fuck it, let's just write a new ending. And it was great. And I was like, yeah. And then so they went and wrote the ending that's in the movie now. And reshot it, and we tacked it on the ending, and it made a big, huge difference in how the movie played. So
did you have more screen tests after that, or was
we had one more? Yeah, we had one more, and the numbers had gone up, and everyone was happy. I remember the studio was very happy, and so it went well.
Which is interesting because usually, like, you want to protect you and the director are usually working to protect the film and make sure that it's what the audience. So it's rare that I hear everyone's happy at the end.
Usually... No, I think everyone was happy. I think I remember when we cut it in, and all the stuff in Washington and all that stuff, and him throwing the milkshake and everything like that. I remember when we cut it in, I'm like, oh, this was great. This is great. This is way better than what we had. And so it was funny, even though we did really fight and try to keep the old ending, but it just didn't fit. So
now, one of the things in terms of, because you're talking about, you went through 7.
I think it was, I might be wrong. It might've been less, but it was a lot.
But each time you're like tweaking the film throughout.
Yeah.
So did you go back to one of your earlier ones and put on the ending, or did you do it on the latest version?
No, most of the movie was in good shape, and we
Yeah.
knew that. And then we really just focused on the ending. So they reshot pretty much everything from when he got caught to the end. So, which was all the stuff in Washington. The original ending was, like I said, he gets a job as a used car salesman in Omaha, and then her mom, Tracy's mom, is buying her a car, and so she comes and wants to do a test drive with him. Anyways, I'm going into the weeds here, but she gives him his yearbook. She gives him her yearbook to sign, and nobody else had signed it. And the last thing was him standing there, and he wrote, "Dear Tracy," and then he just cut to black. So it was kind of sweet. But anyways, sorry, that was a long.
No, well, and I've noticed you've done other comedies, like you did Mr. Woodcock, you did RV. Yeah. So in staying in that sort of pacing, a rhythm sort of idea, like in comedy, a lot of that gets dictated to you by the actor's performance. So I think of Robin Williams and how he sort of is a machine in terms of his comedy. So how do you get into that rhythm of the actors for comedy?
Well, like I said earlier, every film is different, and every film has its own unique sort of style and pace and everything like that. And that one, is an example of it. You don't fight those things; you kind of reinforce them. So I think if you're editing, you're like, well, this is this fast already. We can even go a little faster and tighten it up here and there, and or you can slow it down a little bit to get some more emotion and that kind of stuff. But I think, as an editor, you're able to adapt to different styles of cutting, I think I'm kind of fortunate in some ways that I've done both. I've done some dramas, and I like doing dramas a lot, and I like doing comedies. And I've been fortunate, I think, because of Alexander's movies, which kind of straddle both those genres. I can jump back and forth between both. Like, editors so often get pigeonholed into one area, and that's not really fair, because I think if they're good editors, which they probably are, they could do pretty much anything,
And what were the rushes like for Robin Williams? Like, did they just let him go, or?
Oh my God. Some of them were so hilarious and crazy. And Barry was really great with him, because Barry would always go, Barry had very specific ideas what he wanted. Yeah. So he would get what he wanted, which wasn't always easy. And then he would go, Robin, this one's for you. Yeah. Go ahead and run with it. And then there would just be crazy funny stuff. And that was so sad when he passed away.
Yeah. But someone released the I guess there was the outtakes of Robin Williams with Elmo on Sesame Street, and it's heartwarming and funny and just amazing to watch.
Yeah, so, he was great. Yeah, that was a fun movie to do too. That was that one I get a lot of compliments on still. Like, it's a good family movie, Yeah. It's like people really, with kids and stuff, really get a kick out of it. It was fun.
Now, what would you say was the most challenging scene you've ever had to cut?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, movies like Descendants was a challenging movie. I'm trying to think of what
made it so challenging.
Its pace, how it kind of had this island feel, and at the same time, About Schmidt actually is probably a better example, where it was a very slowly paced movie, but a hilarious movie, and a really sweet, and it's got everything going on in it, but challenging because as we were cutting, just trying to make things happen faster and not making it seem choppy. And those were kind of some of the bigger challenges, both that and in the Descendants, how to keep things moving without making it feel choppy and losing the emotion. So those were some tricky things. I'm trying to think of what scenes though. I mean,
well, I guess another way challenge we could think of it is like, is there a scene that you're most proud of? It doesn't have to be the hardest scene.
Geez, I don't know. Uh, I have to get back to you on that one. I can't think of one right now, but I'm sure there is something.
Yeah. So when how do one of the questions, with people who've worked with directors for a long period of time, how do you get that relationship going and then get on the same wavelength with that director?
Well, I've been fortunate enough to work with Alexander on pretty much everything he's done. And um, I think it's like any relationship. If you are very comfortable with somebody else and they're comfortable with you, it's like an easy flow of ideas, and it just kind of makes it easy. And he's a super great guy, and he makes work fun and creative, and he wants openness, and he's a great leader. He's a great leader and a great director for those reasons. That's why people love working with him. But I think anyone who's worked with the same person for a while, you know how they're thinking and what they're feeling, and you can tell when you do something and they're not happy, or vice versa. You can kind of read between the lines. So, really, it's basically like any kind of relationship. It could be any kind of work relationship. It doesn't necessarily mean editing and directing. There's a different relationship that goes on between a banker and his boss, or something like that. I think it's all the same. You kind of get to know people and feel them out, and yeah, you work very closely with them. So, yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but
well, yeah, I'd say it answered the question.
Okay, good.
Now, I have one last question I'd like to ask everyone
Sure.
I interview. What would you say is your favorite guilty pleasure film to watch?
Oh my God, I don't know. There's films that if I turn it on HBO or comes on cable or something that I'm like, oh, I'm almost disappointed seeing it, because then I know I'm gonna have to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, that's my definition of it.
Okay, and this is not a guilty pleasure. This is a pleasure. But Days of Heaven.
Okay.
Whenever I click on Days of Heaven, I know I'm in for like a next hour and a half, and just or whatever. It's how many ever minutes are left in watching it, and I've seen it so many times, but I just love that movie, and it's just such a beautiful film, and I just love pretty much everything about the editing, everything. So, but there's I have so many movies that I love. Chinatown, I love too.
I've seen that movie so many times. Chinatown.
I know. I could watch it a million times, but there's so many.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for letting me interview.
Sure. Yeah, of course. My pleasure. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and enjoy the weekend.
Okay, you too. Thanks, Gordon.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye.